Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Today I wanted to talk to you about the Major Richard Starr Act and share a little bit of information on it with you. It's not a new piece of legislation. It's kind of a stalling one. There hasn't been a lot of information or news about it circulating. So I wanted to take this opportunity to share with you, if you haven't heard of it, a little bit about it, kind of where it's at, and then jump over to the congressional website and read a little bit of that, and kind of let you know what you can do to support it if that's what you're into. Again, remember that I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just sharing the information. If you believe in it, do your own due diligence, jump in, read a little bit yourself if you feel like it. If not, that's fine too. But if you feel like you want to support it, then it's pretty easy. It's a phone call to your elected official's office, and you're going to get a staffer, and you could just tell the staffer that, hey, I want to let you know, I want to let the congressman or woman know that I support this, whatever it is. Or you could be a hard charger. I mean, there's a lot of us out there too that are like, no, I really believe in whatever it is, and I'm going to call the office, tell them I want a meeting with the congressional rep. That's your representative, and you can set up a meeting with them. It's not that difficult. They don't have a lot of time, and they'll probably only slot you for a 10 or 15 minute spot because they're trying to just push people through. So, and usually the congressional members are only in their districts maybe like once a week type of thing. So it's not very often. All right. So let's jump into it here, and I'll read a little bit for you from the Military Officers Association of America, MOA, their website, and then I'll jump over to the congressional website. So, Major Richard Starr Act reaches key House milestone again. Is it enough? Now, this is a little stale, but it gives us a little bit of background on where we were, kind of, and where we're going. So this is as of May 3rd, so a couple months ago. A month ago. So jumping into, because now we're June 11th, and this was, April, May, June, so, a month and a change, right? So, here we go. The Major Richard Starr Act, a bill which would benefit tens of thousands of combat injured veterans. Okay, that's important. If you don't know anything about this act, it's important to kind of follow along a little bit. So, the Major Richard Starr Act, a bill which would benefit tens of thousands of combat injured veterans by eliminating an unfair pay offset, has reached a critical level of support in the House of Representatives just 5 months into the 118th Congress. The MOA-backed legislation recently cleared the 290 co-sponsor threshold for entry into the House's consensus calendar. Most lawmakers who support the legislation in the 117th Congress have signed back on, giving hope for progress on the larger concurrent receipt problem. Let's see. All right. And on the MOA website, there is a take action section here to urge your legislators to support concurrent receipt. So concurrent receipt means receiving retirement and VA at the same time. So that's what that means. So this isn't something that's going to benefit all veterans, right? It's only going to benefit those that are retired, especially with less than the 20-year time lap. So, like medically retired. So let's go ahead and read on here. And just because it might not benefit you specifically, it's more about taking care of us as a whole, right? As a veteran community. And those guys and gals deserve it. All right. So over 2/3 of the 117th Congress supported the Starr Act, with 336 co-sponsors in the House and 67 in the Senate. The bill cleared the consensus calendar milestone in August of 2022, but support came too late in the session. This year, there is still time to influence the National Defense Authorization Act. The co-sponsor count for the House of Representatives for H.R. 12 1282 and Senate 344. So that's the two bills. So one on the House side, one on the Senate side. So the co-sponsor count for HR, House of Representatives, bill number 1282 and Senate bill number 344 is up to 294 in the House and 63 in the Senate as of May 2nd. There were still roughly 30 representatives and 11 senators who co-sponsored the bill last session and have not signed on this year. The goal is to continue to, now these numbers are different now than they were then. I mean, it's been a month, right? So the goal is to continue to grow support for the legislation and have it included in the NDAA. Continued pressure from the constituents, that's you and me, is necessary to ensure lawmakers caught up in budget negotiations do not forget about our combat injured veterans, our brothers and sisters, especially as we approach the 50th anniversary of an all-volunteer force and face a recruiting crisis. Keep up the pressure. Encourage your friends and others in your network to call their legislator's office via MOA's Capital Hotline, which is 866-272-MOA, M-O-A-A, or 6622. So again, 866-272-6622, toll-free line to the U.S. Capitol switchboard and request an appointment with their military legislative assistant or legislative director. Starr Act talking points. This is important because this is the stuff that you would actually mention or at least have a little bit of background as you talk to your legislator if you are trying to make an appointment with either their legislative aides or themselves as the congressional person. So here's the talking points, and they'll be in the description below as well. So talking point. So stress these details about the Starr Act when asking your lawmakers or their staff members to co-sponsor HR. So on the House side, HR 1282, or on the Senate side, or both. Senate side is 344. Two different pays, two different purposes. Okay. Again, VA pay, retirement pay. Two different things. They shouldn't get offset from each other. They should be completely separate. So two different pays, two different purposes. Retired pay is paid by DOD for completed years of service. Disability compensation is paid by the VA. Using one to offset the other is unjust to those who've served. Even more so to those injured in combat. Proven support. This legislation had 2/3 of Congress on board last year and likely will surpass that number this session. We need to act now before we run out of time. The wrong message is the next bullet point. The wrong message. The purpose of the offset is to save the government money. Achieving such savings on the backs of combat injured veterans is the wrong approach, especially as services struggle to fill their ranks. What message does this send to potential future service members? Advocacy for the Starr Act has grown across a coalition of military and veteran service organizations. MOA has played a key leadership role in the Military Coalition Starr Act Working Group, which has continued to engage House and Senate offices throughout the year via in-person meetings and social media campaigns. At one recent coalition visit, a senator's military legislative assistant acknowledged, "No other piece of legislation has jammed up my inbox more than the Major Richard Starr Act, and I think the senator will sign back on." Keep up the pressure on your lawmakers. Keeping up the pressure on your lawmakers is making an impact. Grassroots advocacy works. So I will tell you, yes, you have lobbying happening from all the different veteran organizations, the VFW, American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Purple Heart, MOA, TREA, all of them. Keep going. However, that is typically happening on the Hill, so in DC. When we start collectively working toward championing specific legislation strategically, in our neighborhoods, in our districts, our congressional districts, to our congressional members. They're hearing it from the voting members, and it means a lot. So the more that you can create some uproar, the better. Also, you can leverage your other local, state, and county officials to also basically support federal legislation. In other words, you could reach out to your county board of supervisors or equivalent, your state representatives, and tell them that you want them to support this legislation with the congressional member. And if you can curry enough leverage there, utilizing either a military and veterans committee or a commission in your neck of the woods to help that ball roll, then you'll get more electeds signing on, telling another elected that they also support it. So you can get that snowball effect, right, of rolling down the hill, getting bigger, right? So good information here. And let's see. If we roll over to the up-to-date congress.gov website, it says that last action was for Senate Bill 344, Major Richard Starr Act, that the last action was February 9th. It was read twice and referred to the Committee on Armed Services action by the Senate. And it says that there's 65 co-sponsors, and there was one committee. So let's see what else it gives us here. So short title, a bill to amend Title 10 United States Code to provide concurrent receipt of veterans' disability compensation and retired pay for disability retirees with fewer than 20 years of service and a combat-related disability, and for other purposes. They always put the "and for other purposes." So here's a revised version of that statement. Most of us know somebody who was medically retired and they did 17 years, 16 years, 15 years, and they were medically retired. And they're receiving a retirement from their military service. So let's just say that their military retirement is, just to use easy numbers, let's say that it's $3,000 a month. We'll just to use easy numbers. And let's say that their VA money is $1,000 a month, or whatever. We'll say it's $500. $500 a month for their VA money. What happens is they take their $3,000, and when I say they, I mean the government. Okay, great. You got $3,000 for retirement. We're going to take your $500 and move it over here of your $3,000 and make $500 of your $3,000 tax-free. There you go. Thanks for your service. So they give you a tax-free portion. But what this will do is say, great, here's your $3,000 and here's your $500. There you go. You deserve it. Thank you for your service. So, which is the way it should be. And, it's one of those things where whether, again, if you're there's more retirees than there are medical retirees. And there's probably more veterans, right? Just without retirement, you didn't do enough to retire. More veterans than both of those combined. So it may not affect you, but in the big picture, it kind of does, because we need to make sure that we're all being taken care of, right? And then the more good deeds that are done for us, right? And the more right that's done will keep a momentum and keep a trajectory of doing the right thing. So with that, I'll go ahead and leave it there. Thanks so much for listening, watching. I appreciate it. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.